Here's what you should know about your local housing market in this week's Market Update. We just finished the first full week of 2026, and I can tell you it feels like we are going to have a much more active housing market this year than we had last year. Last year we had a really slow start and it didn't really pick up too much steam throughout the year. Already I'm seeing a lot of calls from buyers and sellers wanting to make plans to move in 2026. So those are promising signs. We want an active housing market. Of course, I want an active housing market, but it's better for all of us as well. We want to be able to make a move whenever we feel like it. We don't want to feel trapped in our homes. We want to be able to say, you know what, I want to move for this reason or that reason, and there are a sufficient amount of homes on the market, a fair and balanced transaction process. So I'm hoping and anticipating that we might get closer to that this year in 2026. So that being said, let's get into the stats this week and see if it's starting to shape up yet. So this week we're looking at statistics in Morristown, Chatham, Madison, Harding, Morris Plains, Mendham, Chester, Bernardsville, Basking Ridge, and Randolph. So this past week we saw 18 homes come on the market. That is actually the exact same amount of homes that came on the market last week. However, that was a little bit elevated. Last week I said, oh, that's a lot of homes coming on the market, but it's making up for the holiday week the week before. This week we don't have that. So the fact that we see consistent number of homes coming on the market this week, I feel like that's kind of a bonus. That's a good, healthy number. Out of these, 15 were single-family houses, and 3 of them were condos or townhouses. The average list price of these homes was $1,661,000. Madison had the highest average list price at $2,997,000. Total inventory, slight increase, 1% increase. We have one more home actively on the market than we did last week, with a total of 132 homes actively on the market. Is that a big relief? No, but the fact that we're going in the positive direction with an increase, while not really much of an increase, the fact that we didn't see a decrease and a substantial decrease this week is very promising. Let's stop the bleed before we repair it. So that's good to see. Total homes sold this past week. We saw 17 homes sell this past week. That is a 55% increase over last week. The average list price of homes in these towns that sold was $978,000, and the average sale price of homes that sold in these towns was $1,002,000. So this past week we saw homes sell for an average of 1.9% above list price. Now, once again, we saw only 2 towns where homes sold below the list price. Now, one of them was Bernardsville, where homes sold on average 4% below the list price. So that was actually just one sale that sold 4% below list price. So not a great sample size. And then we saw Randolph, where we saw 2 homes sell at an average of 0.3% below list price. So just below list price. Otherwise, all the other towns that had sales went from Basking Ridge at list price all the way up to Madison, where homes sold for an average of 7.9% above the list price. Something to keep an eye on as the spring market moves forward. Like I said, I am expecting to see a good increase in activity. It will be interesting to see how that affects the competition. Are we going to see buyers and sellers equally increase and keep those bidding wars going, or are we going to see a little bit more inventory than buyers, and maybe that those bidding wars might settle down a little bit? Not sure. Let's closely monitor that. Days on market. The homes that sold were on the market for an average of 33 days. That is 14% less than the homes that sold last week. And then under contract. Once again, under contract, the most current data, but the least complete data. These are homes that represent what is going on in the market right now. So you got 10 homes go under contract this past week. That's a 43% increase over last week. The average list price of homes that went under contract was $990,000. and the median days on market for homes that went under contract was 47 days on the market, which is actually a 37% decrease over last week. So I'm really excited about what I'm seeing shaping up on the back end of things. I'm very anxious to see how they play out moving forward. So if you have plans this spring, and a lot of you have been doing a great job, I've been getting a lot of phone calls and emails of people starting to make plans for spring moves. Keep that up. If you have plans of moving this spring, summer, or even next fall, let's start chatting. There's a lot of interesting things happening on the market. We want to be poised to get ahead of the competition and take advantage of the opportunities that exist in the current market and the coming spring market. So thanks so much for checking in with me. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll catch you guys again next week.